Hello, everyone. So for the next session, our speaker is Ms. Andri Michael. She is a partner at Ginanis LLC, leading the Financial Services and Funds Department. She specializes in legal advisory and regulatory compliance for investment schemes and other licensed entities as legal support for international clients for listings on capital markets and legal consulting for blockchain matters. Andri holds an LLB and an LLM from Southampton University in the UK and was admitted at the Cyprus Bar Association in 2004. She's a member of CIFA and a holder of CISEC Advanced Certificate. Andri will be covering exactly what we mentioned before, which is the legal aspects, and she will touch upon the legal framework and requirements needed for blockchain adoption in the Cyprus market. Okay, so thank you very much, Andri. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Kyriakos. I hope you hear me well, right, and see the presentation.
Yes, everything is fine.
All right, great. I would like to thank you for this. Thank you for the invitation, and I would like to thank your team as well for collecting together professionals from the industry and regulator in an attempt to to promote the applications of technology and blockchain and also increase awareness. In my presentation, very shortly, I will not focus on blockchain and real estate, but mainly briefly give you an indication and focus on the effect of blockchain on Cyprus from regulatory aspect. We've seen this fundamental technological evolution and revolution, may I say, into the world in Cyprus, and of course we as an island couldn't remain untouched by this blockchain effect. It's been the case that as professionals we've seen business models based on blockchain technology. We've seen clients wanting to incorporate technology and embrace technology in their business, and we're very surprised sometimes to see how digitalization of financial transactions would change businesses as we knew it so far. It was very challenging for us to marry technology and legal compliance. It was at the beginning nobody could take into consideration the challenge of being able to marry those two together. Everybody was having an idea, coming to say, I want to do this, but it was very tricky to ensure that compliance with the regulations and at national EU level was very important. So we see that this only brought the need to transform, modernize public administration as well to be able to support all this change. And the past 2 years, we see the immense need as well on behalf of Cyprus and other countries for regulatory reform at national level. So are countries getting ready for this? I don't know. Is Cyprus getting ready for this? I'm glad to say that over the past 2 years, we have seen a promising track record. From the beginning, I would say back in 2018, we've seen Cyprus acknowledging that improvement of technology and investment in technology was an effective way of reform. They approved the national strategy on blockchain, as Kyriakos said earlier, and actually they put a plan on paper. It's of course available for everyone to see, but their main focus was the creation of a regulatory framework to enable all this technology to come into our lives, and also embrace technology in the public sector, which was very important so that our everyday life move forward. Lastly, it was one of the third pillar on the national strategy was the enhancement of technology and DLT, basically more generally into the financial sector. And it is this disruption of financial services sector that actually a few months later made the regulator launch their innovation hub. as the vice chairman said earlier and explained in very detail, that the regulator welcomed entities and counterparties to promote their product under their existing legal framework, and present the opportunity for companies that are regulated and fall within the ambit of the regulator. Soon after came the time to initiate the start of the plan. So the government actually initiated the drafting of the blockchain legislative framework, with the aim to have it short after. I will explain in more detail what that will include. Earlier this year, we have the creation of the Deputy Ministry of Research and Innovation. This came to support and strengthen the government's actually initiative to support innovation, digitalization, and also the reform of the public administration. It was only yesterday, may I say, that the Deputy Minister actually announced the first phase of the digital transformation of government sector. So I think that it's moving forward, this vision, and hopefully to see much more soon. I would say that this year it was active year from the aspect of regulatory reform. It was the first time that we see legislation actually making reference to technology in the context of crypto assets. We have this draft bill implementing the 5th AML directive, making reference to crypto assets and crypto asset service providers. So this again will bring the need for regulatory reform and the legislative framework to adopt the regulation of crypto assets falling outside the ambit of financial services. I was also very happy to see lately a consultation paper from the regulator welcoming the technological innovative methods for AML procedures. This gives opportunities to companies to work more efficiently, regulated entities to create more cost efficient methods, and also the industry to be able to create on this. At this point, I would say, okay, it's not only initiative on paper. However, all this initiative and all this reform cannot move forward unless we have the proper manpower. And it's important to see that we have local expertise, we have the tech companies, advisors, and academia educated and trained to take this step further. So going back to the legal framework that I mentioned before, there is indeed the drafting of national umbrella legislation. There was a question earlier, and it is indeed the first draft out. It will empower at some point to the issuance of secondary legislation by the competent authorities, and among others will be regulating token ownership, smart contracts, taxonomy of tokens. The aim was to have actually the legislation regime out in 2020. I don't see that coming. However, I hope that early 2021 we will be very close to having at least the umbrella legislation out and be able to work on it. The aim is not to regulate crypto assets qualifying as financial instruments, as that will be done under a separate legislative regime because we have all the existing legal framework already in place. Crypto assets not qualifying as financial instruments and crypto asset service providers again will be dealt under a separate legislative regime, and this is important because it will give some legal certainty to tokenization of business that not necessarily issue tokens that can be regarded as financial instruments. Okay, a lot of challenges ahead, as the vice chairman again said. Compliance with the existing regulatory framework is very essential. It's important to avoid applications of technology in the new legislation that fall under existing national regime or upcoming EU legislation. For example, we have the MiCA coming up on crypto assets and the pilot regime for DLT on market infrastructures. Although I would say that the legal framework was the priority, one of the priorities of the government, it couldn't bypass the disruption that blockchain and technology had in the financial sector. We've seen the impact that of digitalization of financial transactions. More and more interest in offering of financial instruments and other investment products by means of technology. We, as professionals, we've seen great interest of people moving to security token offerings, even for cost efficiency reasons, avoid middlemen, or trying to adjust with the new era, basically. We will see later on with the esteemed guests the benefits of tokenization of real estate and other assets. So I think this disruption, it's here to stay and only to move forward. So one could say, is this an opportunity or a challenge? I would say it is challenging to ensure that to ensure compliance with existing legal framework. We have MiFID II, laws on capital markets, IPO laws. Still, we have a way to go to adjust the existing legal framework to accept technology. It's important to have the means to move forward. For example, it's very difficult to have security token offerings without having the means to provide secondary trading for financial instruments. If I'm not mistaken, there is a proposal at the EU level to amend the definition of financial instruments so as to include financial instruments issued by means of technology, DLT. So again, we see that there is a movement towards modernizing even the existing legal framework to adjust to the new era. We cannot see tokenization or embrace tokenization of equity rights or funds without modernizing at the same time our companies law or modernizing our funds law to embrace this technology and accept ownership rights in this way. The benefits, as I said before, tokenization of assets and real estate are immense. You will see later on in the event. However, we need to implement technology in related sectors. We cannot have tokenization of real estate, let's say, unless the land registry is modernized and accepts this kind of business from now on. So I would say that going back to my question, whether are we ready for this technological revolution, I would say that we should take the challenge and maybe turn it to an opportunity. There are challenges ahead, of course. We've seen countries actually successfully implementing such visions. We've seen the land registry in the United Kingdom being technologically advanced and tokenization of real estate taking place. So I think it's only a matter of time for us to move towards the right direction. I would say with confidence that Cyprus is getting ready, and we hope that this will give an opportunity to all the counterparties involved. I would like to thank you again. Thank you, Kyriakos, for this opportunity. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Andri, for everything you mentioned. Yes, indeed, blockchain is an excellent opportunity for Cyprus to pivot into emergent tech, and it's going to unlock, I personally feel it's going to unlock, amazing value for the economy of Cyprus. So we do have questions. So the first question is, who will regulate the crypto assets? Will it be the central bank CySec?
That's a very big chapter to elaborate on. We've seen that, as I said before, we've seen crypto assets falling under the regime of existing legal regulation. As Mr. Theocharidis said earlier, it is still within their ambit, any crypto assets that fall under the existing legal regulation. For example, crypto assets considered as financial instruments cannot be regulated by any other authority other than the Cyprus Securities Exchange Commission. I mentioned earlier before about the AML update and amendment to the current legislation. The upcoming law makes reference to crypto assets not falling under the financial instrument definition. If I remember well, that there is an upcoming legislation to regulate those crypto assets that do not fall under that regime. That again, I believe those crypto assets and crypto asset service providers will be falling under the regime of Cyprus, of CySec. Mr. Theocharidis can chip in on this as well. Anything else that will resemble any payments or e-money and something that would,
briefly mentioned something about currencies under central bank. There is an amazing trend past a few months on an interest on CBDCs, central bank digital currencies.
It is a case that we don't have so much, I wouldn't say initiative, so much information on that on national level. I think it is a bit silent, but since this is being discussed on EU level, I think we won't remain untouched on that. But it's a very early stage to have something solid from Cyprus perspective.
Okay, yeah, because the trend is primarily international, and we see a lot of interest from the Central Bank of England in central bank digital currencies. There is an initiative with the Bank of France, and China is going all in.
Yeah.
But there are different initiatives on this, which is it's a very interesting sector, but it falls. I'm afraid it falls, outside the scope of today. Do we have any other questions from the audience that anyone would want to ask Andri? George is saying Iran's new crypto law requires miners to sell Bitcoin to the central bank. That's interesting. Miner industry in Cyprus. Is there such an initiative around miner industry in Cyprus? Personally, I don't know. Andri, do you?
No, I mean, the basics are, as I said before, I'm glad to say that at least we started this initiative on embracing technology. So that this, I would say that's a step further.
Okay, anyone else? I guess we should move on to the next session. Thank you so much, Andri, for everything. And
thank you, Kyriakos.
Thanks.